Sketch made this. Fingers crossed, people. Fingers crossed. I mean, it's written by Chris Carter, so yeah, I have 0% hope. But you know, X-Files taught us not to give up, so what else?
My name is Carl Gerhard Bush.
Oh wow!
But I've been known by many aliases.
How long did they try and work that name out for?
Government. It's been a humbling job, though I'm hardly known as a humble man. I've been a witness to history, much of it violent, much of it an abomination of the values Americans hold dear. I've had a privileged seat at the centers of power, held the reins of that.
Oh wow!
Making sacrifices fewer.
Clearly somebody did know how to use Photoshop.
Fewer are willing. If people knew the truth, they'd riot in the streets. Too much is made of the will to power,
Oh my God.
as if our will is free, our choices our own. Our destinies are forged in our bones, made real by a raging impulse to self-destruct.
Buckle up, people. This was definitely written by Chris Carter.
Or a practical man. I've taken certain gifts I was given and made good men great. It is my greatness.
What you're seeing right now is the PFC in real time. And the reason I don't have any answers for you is I've never seen anything quite like this before.
So she's been exposed to the artifact?
The area we associate with fight or flight.
I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm reading this part, the signal. And I'm reading this flashing as code.
You must be mistaken.
What do you mean code? 6 dots, 2 dashes. Him. Find him.
Really, Skinner?
This is insanity. I want to see her.
Look, even Shadow's pissed off.
You're not helping her cause.
Are you helping my cause?
Dude, what if it was a message?
Find who?
Dude, you guys haven't had lovers
Who are you
too.
asking for? Your son.
Why ask for him now? She's not dying.
Maybe she's not. But I've seen you believe far more absurd things, Agent Mueller.
Yeah,
All that's personal.
I will say, why is Mulder being a dick?
I care about her too. I'm just looking for answers here.
And you go look for them, Skinner. Where I'm needed isn't there.
Okay.
The thought is imperishable.
Oh my God.
Fear that takes hold in the gut. That the person you care for most in the world could be hurt by you. By your actions.
Oh my
The
God.
simple fact of knowing you. She lies here so helpless. Those same thoughts and fears flood my mind with questions. If I cause this, how then can I make it stop?
Stop dealing with pretentious writing?
Scully, I don't doubt you, but you believe what you say. The doctor said that your brain is on fire and...
It's me.
She's like, what the fuck, Mulder?
You have to find him, and you have to stop him before he kills you.
Talk to your doctor first.
Oh my God! What? Did Mulder have a lobotomy? Whoa! Spender? I mean, I'm not surprised he's in it, but how is his face normal? Where's the wig? Where's the prosthetics?
They will be coming for me.
I'm hung up on Jeffrey's suspender being in Mulder's phone? I know they had that
Mulder will
moment
be
in
coming
the
for me.
season 9 finale and that, but...
If he finds me, he'll kill me. But we are not to be found.
I need to know where he is.
You made me promise to hide your son, to never tell you,
Wait.
never tell anyone where he was.
He hid William?
Never to be found.
I know, I'm asking you to break that promise.
What if they come at you?
You don't understand. Mulder's life may depend on it. Patients and charged.
You entrusted the man who injected your
Can I have the
baby.
name of the adoptive parents, Van de Kamp.
I want you to help me find them.
I've already broken a promise.
The smoking man. Your father. He's the one that's looking for them.
My father's dead.
No, he's not. He's alive.
Apparently everybody's aware of the fact that missiles to the face kill people, but...
Yes, can you help me? Miss Scully, security. Where are my things? Look, you can't keep me. I fear you may seize. Just tell me where my things are. I'm leaving.
Don't mess with Scully.
My plans are airtight. And even if they were to get out, they would be dismissed as so much fake news. That's
Oh my god!
every day a new disaster. When the one thing no one is prepared for will wipe the slate clean. We refuse to imagine our impending extinction, the acceleration of the cataclysms. We've thrown science out the window in favor of scandal and opinion. Can't.
The X-Files, brought to you by Fox News.
Civilization a joke. And my plan, merely the punchline.
And the Earth is flat.
Standing at your desk.
Because I don't have one for some reason.
Mulder, I know what I'm doing.
Damn it, Scully.
Where are you?
I'm passing into South Carolina. I'm following a guy.
This is what I saw, Mulder. How it begins. A confrontation between you and the smoking man.
All right, look.
Is that you never see your son again?
Thanks, William, for spoiling the rest of the episode. I mean, you're really good at, spoilers? Why is William only doing this
Think Sarah
now?
will forgive you?
She'll come to see the beauty of it. The beauty of a planet returned to its savage state.
What, dinosaurs?
Living as we were intended.
These are people you're killing.
I'm just cleaning the mess that they made.
Doesn't mean we won't hate you.
I've endured more hatred than you'll ever know. My enemies are legion.
I have so many questions, Reyes.
What price was Scully now paying for her visions and her
Well,
certainty?
maybe you should go back to
What
her.
price would I pay for not turning back to help her?
No more sex?
All I could do was heed her admonitions.
And completely ignore
We
them.
have a bond beyond you. Beyond science.
She's completely unaware of that.
Really? What makes you so certain?
It's a secret only you and I know.
Ew.
I owe it to Scully now to find out the truth.
I fear only for Scully.
I get you're feeling guilt, but being a dick to her is a whole other issue.
I think you're in love with her.
Ew! Oh, I think I was just sick.
I worry for her.
Who doesn't love Scully though in this show?
Now he's going to force my hand.
You won't shed a tear for Mulder.
Of course I will. He's my son.
What if Scully finds the boy first?
Well, the question then is, are William's visions fake? Maybe put there by, I don't know, alien bounty hunters or something? Are we gonna go back to those kids who found his mutation? Just... You know what, I don't drive, but the attention to these sexy cars in this episode are just... Talk about product placement. Well, that certainly wasn't William B. Davis's hand to start off. Kiwi! He totally looked at Mulder, come on! Is he baiting him? There's no way that guy couldn't have seen Mulder following him on the road. Apparently Mulder's been playing Metal Gear Solid in the interim years. It's not got a cardboard box he's going to shove over his head in a minute, is he? You can stop calling her now, Skinner. I think you found a phone. I'm glad the doctors tried to keep us
Hands on the wheel.
sedated.
The hell does this want again?
Me with a gun to your head.
Okay. Just do it already. I've lost all hope in my Reyes. Yeah, I'd throw my arms up in frustration as well, Scully, to be honest, at this point.
What does he want with my son?
That's the question, isn't it?
He's clearly a very special child.
Stop zooming in! Is it like interference from
What the
William?
hell do you care?
We want to save humanity. We used to want the same.
The aliens came to study us. We're prepared to work with us.
He was to be the man to lead us.
Okay. Herb? Where are all the staff? What's the guy that Mulder was... Why would they leave Mulder away and then... Seriously, is this just like beat up fucking Scully episode? Holy shit! Scully uses a 2x4 to knock somebody out, and Mulder just flat out caps one. I mean, I get it, don't mess with Scully. But, and I'm sure this is supposed to be sweet, but what the fuck?
The horror I'd felt, the gut wrench of seeing Scully
Handcuff him!
fighting against the
Knock
storm
him
in her
off!
head, now only doubled. Had I come full circle to find the truth, only to uncover greater
I'm
lies.
pretty sure this is
Not
repeat
one
script
conspiracy,
Mulder
but
from
two.
Redux.
That threatened not only Scully, but our son. The drum beats in my heart.
So yeah, you were a dick to me earlier, and I've been the victim all episode while you weren't here.
The man they just wheeled out on the gurney.
Are they insisting that he needs to be there to protect her?
The smoking man didn't send him.
How do you know that?
Because the smoking man won't harm me. He's held my life in his hands. That was something else.
Your visions, Scully. They're not wrong.
My
Well,
vision
maybe you'll believe me now, dickhead.
are from William. I don't know how, but I know that he's guiding me. And you. You drugged me.
I did nothing of the sort.
How the hell did I get out of my clothes and into bed?
We carried you, my housekeeper and I.
No!
30 hours, you were delirious.
That didn't happen.
I don't know what you're up to.
You just retconned what happened.
Impregnated her?
With science, Mr. Skinner. Alien science. To create the first superhuman child.
Mulder's not the father. I'm asking, who's the father?
I am. William is my son.
I'm gonna be sick. I'm genuinely... What? What? I'm sick. No. No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm tapping out. Fuck you, Chris Carter. Fuck you. Nope, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't. Hey everybody! Hey everybody! So we're back! 2018 with season 11 of the X-Files. For better or worse. I actually wanted to talk about last year when the announcement was made for the new season. I wanted to talk about it, whether I was excited or not excited, because I had mixed feelings about season 10. I really wanted to talk about my very mixed feelings about the new season in a vlog. But come the time that I finally did a video in June, was it? Before Comic-Con. I completely forgot. When I said in that video, I was like, I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, but I'll come back and do another video. Even though I had talked about doing like my review of the next game and that, it completely slipped my mind. And I was going to do a follow-up video to talk about it and, you know, call it like the forgotten elephant in the room. And unfortunately, things this autumn winter have been absolutely just awful and difficult. And my focus has been elsewhere, so I've not been able to do that video. But I really, you know, as a result, kind of built up a lot of feelings and dreads and stuff. And I kind of vented those a little bit to Malcolm and realised there was a lot more in me regarding this stuff that, you know, anyway. But I went into this season knowing the first episode was written by Chris Carter, so my expectations were quite low. But I didn't realise just how much frustration and that would come out because of a much bigger issue in this episode than what you would think I would have an issue with. Because for the more observant of you, yes, it is a different time of day. I am wearing completely different clothes because I had to go off after watching the episode about 6 o'clock this morning. It's now 1:20. I had to go off, shower because I felt so dirty, really get things straight in my head so that I didn't just bleh. And I also wanted to go back to my struggle too, and get things straight in my head for where the vision started. That actually gave me more issues with continuity than I thought it would, but we'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, no, the issues I have with this episode, I'm going to cover, but there is this episode is actually a symptom of a much bigger problem that I really am going to do. I want to do a separate video to talk about, because I think to talk about it here would make this video drag and go off topic more than even my intro ramblings have done. So that stuff I will talk about separately. But before we get to some of my bigger concerns of this episode, let's talk about the general stuff of this episode, because actually, you'd be surprised, it is not as bad as, say, Babylon. And I don't even think it's as bad as My Struggle 1 and 2. And the reason for that... Fuck all happens in this episode! Now, you would think that I'm just delusional or something. But here's the thing. Yes, stuff happens. Script happens. But so much of this running time of this episode is taken up by exposition dumps that half of the time are so up their own arse and pointless and retconning previous stuff. It's ridiculous. And then on the other hand, you've got Mulder driving. So much driving. It's a big freaking Mustang advert. Seriously. Talk about product placement. But, so here's the thing. I went into this episode curious about how they would, wrap up the cliffhanger from season 10. Now, back in October, I saw somebody post a blog on the site, on the blog, The Basement, sorry. I cannot remember the username, so I apologise for not being able to credit that person. But somebody posted a theory saying that they thought My Struggle, either that episode or most of season 10, were like visions for Scully. Either she was in a coma or they were, visions of the future or whatever. And I actually completely agree with this. I had very mixed feelings about it because I felt it was a cop-out in the same tone as, say, it was all a dream, or, oh God, that kind of, my brain has gone blank, seriously. This episode has fried my brain. I didn't like that whole it's a dream explanation, kind of bloody Dallas. And even worse is the fact that Chris Carter was like, oh yeah, no, we've resolved it in a totally interesting way because this way has never been done on TV shows for like the last 30-40 years. That man, seriously. But there were parts of My Struggle 2 with the zoom-ins on the fascination with Scully's eye that did make me believe this theory. So when we finally get to this episode, and that is literally the explanation they give straight away, I'm just like, called it. I mean, I didn't call it, but I totally agreed enough to, and especially when promotional stuff was coming out. But the issue with continuity that I mentioned before is that, so what we're presented is the fact that when the camera zooms into Scully's eye, when she's sat at Mulder's desk and gets the phone call from Tad O'Malley in My Struggle 2, that is when the vision is supposed to be from. Except Scully turns up at the office. Mulder is already missing in that episode. He's already gone off on some alien DNA after seeing Tad O'Malley's latest squad video. Mulder has already disappeared. So my question is why is he back in this episode? I mean, there's many questions regarding Mulder in this episode, I guess. But starting with this, yeah, I mean, personally, I would like to wipe Babylon. I would like to pretend that was a bizarre hallucination or something. But if we're taking My Struggle 2 as the main basis for these visions, I just get the impression that it's supposed to be after that. So then has Mulder wandered off to get some, I don't know, coffee and donuts or something? Why isn't he at the office? And I mean, Tad says in the vision, if you will, when Scully goes to their house, she says, where has Mulder gone? And Tad's like, oh, he dashed off, this, that and the other. I don't remember. you're assuming I actually paid attention to that shit script. Anyway, so that's an issue all of its own. But, so in this episode, Mulder is a dick. And I'm just like, why? I mean, there's a difference between being protective, being worried for your partner and that, and just being flat out dismissive. And when she's laying there, pleading with him, saying, you know, I'm not an irrational person. Why would you think that I would come up with this bizarre scenario? Me who would, you know, put a scientific explanation to anything. Why do you think I would lay here and come up with this stuff? And it really bugs me that, you know, we find out later that, you know, we've got this new suspicion between Mulder and Skinner. That's fine at the end. I get that Mulder's pissed off and, you know, especially after what's happened to Scully. Why does, at the beginning, Mulder says, I don't want to hear it from you, to Skinner. And I'm curious where this bizarre conflict is coming from. I get, again, that Mulder's being all, like, worried and stuff, but I don't really necessarily feel that from the way he's acting. I feel like he's just being a knob, to be honest. And he just seems out of character, and, you know, everything that they've been through, I get him being worried about her and that. But I just... This episode borrows a lot as well from, as with the other My Struggle episodes, borrows a lot from the Gethsemane Redux episodes, right down to Mulder's monologues, worrying about Scully and his involvement in her sickness, and I was just like, oh my gosh, he hasn't got cancer again. Seriously. I could go round and round on this one. So, anyway. Again, this episode isn't as bad as previous episodes, so yay, Chris Carter. I just feel dirty even saying that. Anyway, so then we get to... What do we even get to next? So then we're on to just the whole chase scene, which goes on way too long. It's good, it's well shot, but it's just, and I'm still absolutely baffled. Why? Like, William would give Scully these visions of that car being Miller's, when in fact it's Mulder's car. I don't get that. Where would that confusion come from? I just, more to the point, when did Mulder get this car? He has it at no point in the rest of the season. So, I mean, it's really weird. To be honest, I'm really baffled by Scully with this massive SUV. I get Mulder's going through this midlife crisis thing, but that just seemed really weird. And like I say, it just felt like a massive Mustang advert. So there was all that. Clearly the goon was baiting Mulder, getting him to follow him. But because they were like, oh wait, no, we don't want you dead, Mulder. We want Scully dead. But the thing is while we're doing this chase scene, we've got Mulder doing his monologuing, and there's a massive issue with clearly the way Carter has written this. I mean, a lot of this script is stunted anyway. It is really awkwardly. There were strange, awkward discussions and exchanges in this. But there was this issue with, you know, show don't tell, and I'm really uncomfortable with the way that Mulder's like, oh, blah 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 blah. I wouldn't believe Scully, except for the fact that the goon has been following me through 3 states or something. And I'm like, why don't you just show the fact that, I mean, if you're going to spend so much time in this bloody car versus car scene, why not just give that impression that he's being followed? You don't actually have to tell us this. And then there's the bloody, talking about don't, you know, show don't tell. This bizarre neurologist that's working on Scully. What is with... she's a neurologist, right? She's not some conspiracy nut, because the bizarre stuff she was coming out with, I was just like, really? Wait, what? Half the stuff she was coming out with, I was just like, oh my god. Oh yeah, no, I've had other patients that have been worked on by the government because conspiracy. This episode, and again, much of season 10. I was talking to Malcolm about this recently. I don't like when shows come back and they're desperate need to be modern. They feel this need to throw all the politics at us. It's like, just to prove, no, we're totally modern. Last season we had, oh yeah. No, I know Edward Snowden. I know this. Google this, Google that. Oh, blah, 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 you know, all these name drops and stuff. And it's like, you get that in the time that the show's been off air, these characters have been still living. You know, not... You know, I mean, I don't mean living in the real sense, but what I mean is, for them, in their universe, they have still been alive. They weren't, like, cryogenically frozen between seasons. And yet they come back as if they've discovered this new world, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I've heard about these WikiLeaks and stuff like that. It's just like, oh my god. And I had that with stuff, you know, we've seen that with stuff like Prison Break and that coming back. They come back after several years and it's like, let's show that we know what's going on in the world. And Chris Carter has this thing where he likes to just go, oh yeah, no, look at what's going on. It's awful. We live in this world of Trump as president and all this other stuff going on. And you know what? Matt Stone and Trey Parker, who run... South Park, they said when Trump became president, before they did the new season, people were asking them, are you going to cover, you know, because, you know, they had Mr. Garrison as the substitute for Trump in that show. And people were saying, you know, what are you going to do regarding the Trump presidency? And they were like, that's parody enough. There's no point us touching that. And I think, yes, obviously the X-Files exists in a world where it's dealing with government cover-ups and that. But you then don't have to have a whole intro sequence where you're like showing all these images of Putin and Trump and stuff like that. It's the X-Files, not a fucking news report. Just... we know what's going on. I tune into this stuff for fiction. If I wanted to tune into this stuff for all my latest Steve Bannon type characters and all that stuff, I'd watch the news. It's everywhere. Just, oh my god. So much of the original series, you know, yes, you had stuff going on, but a lot of it was stuff that had been built up over the past and was coming to fruition kind of thing, through the work of the Syndicate and that. And then they're just like, oh no, here's this stuff. Just... I can't even. This episode is just so frustrating. But the bizarre thing is, it's frustrating just in its blandness. You're just sat there going, okay, whatever. Because there is so much talk. So, I don't know what of my reactions are going to be in the final edit of this. But there were so many times I was just sat there going, so much talking. And it wasn't even interesting talking. It was talking round and round and round in circles and ooga booga, I'm evil, ooga booga, I'm evil, ooh, everybody's evil, this is going on, we're sorting out the American public, ooh, ooga booga. None of it was interesting. I mean, even if you're going to base, I mean, you know, Chris Carter has written some, look, ridiculously pretentious monologues in the past. But even through them, pretentiousness, there was some nuggets of interesting, thought-provoking concepts and stuff. Whereas this, it's just like, oh, he read the paper this morning. Fox News are clearly heavy on his mind. Let him be. Let him get his talk and viewpoints out there or whatever. It's just like, ugh. And then, just, how do I approach this? How do I even just... Reyes! Just... You're not even the worst of the situations, but... Reyes! Annabeth Gish has been quite defensive on Twitter, because people were referring to her as the villain, and she was like, let the season play out. And you know what? It's fair to say that, you know, nuggets are going to be put in through the season to hopefully show her reasons. And I tried. Even looking back at my reactions for the past season, I tried to think that there was some reason for her to be the way she is now. You know, helping out CSM and stuff. But this episode, holy shit, she was really like, I was like, are you foully in disguise? I don't care. Somebody suggested the notion that maybe she was playing the long game, that she was undercover delivering William and stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't want to believe that. Not for a second, because Reyes was the sweetest, best thing that had happened to the show. You know, she was a friendly character. She was finally a friend for Scully. With no hidden agenda and stuff. She was one of the few things that smiled on the show. I don't want that to be the case at all. And with Annabeth Gish being, you know, saying, you know, don't promote Reyes as a villain. I'm hoping that it is just going to be circumstances put that in her. You put her in that situation, but there's so much where people are like, oh, you've got to let stuff in this episode play out in the season. But you are starting the season with this. This is what you are want people to watch and keep going with the show. And it's very difficult to watch something like this particular episode and go, oh yeah, no, I am so intrigued. I am totally going to keep watching. Because actually, this episode genuinely made me feel like I wanted to give up. And again, you know, there are bigger issues that it go towards that decision. And of course I won't give up on the show. But the point is I feel like there's an assassination of characters going on. And they're using it under this guise of, oh, it's drama, it's interesting for character emotions and development, and it's like, it's not. Once upon a time it was. Now we are getting past the point of uncanny valley, ridiculous, taking the mickey. It's just beyond believable now. Why is this episode called My Struggle? Could Chris Carter not think of anything else? Ooh, it's because it's showing CSM's struggle. CSM has no friggin' struggle in this episode. Personally, I didn't even really think that My Struggle 1 and 2 showed much struggle for Mulder and Scully. But if this is supposed to be CSM's story, you know, even going with the I want to lie tagline, you know, as everybody's like, the I is CSM. Yeah, I get that. But he has no struggle in this. He's clearly more than happy with what he's doing. He's set in his ways. This isn't a struggle. They could have come up with, I guess, to try to tie. I just don't think Chris Carter could come up with any interesting titles, to be honest. But I guess he's like, oh, we've got to tie it to the other episodes. But guess what? Gethsemane had Redux 1 and 2 as its sequels, was still all part of the trilogy. We had, you know, Biogenesis, Sixth Extinction, and Sixth Extinction Amorphati. they were all part of the same trilogy. You know, Paperclip, Blessing Way, you know, all that. We've had very connected, excellent 2-parters, 3-parters. There was no need to call this episode My Struggle 3. There just really wasn't. And it was, I don't know what it was trying to do, if it was trying to show some kind of vulnerability or stuff, because there is that thing where CSM's confused by what's going on, who these other forces are at play, but at the same time it's just like, so that was just a little pointer I wanted to give, because I'm trying to avoid getting to one of the key things that really needs to be talked about. Scully. Just, also, William, you're a dick. What the fuck do you think you're doing? I guess you're trying to help, but you are killing your mother. And that's another thing is, you know, I'm curious why Mulder, who was exposed to the artifact, is completely dismissive of the fact that maybe Scully is having similar visions to what he had. I mean, she's not hearing voices and that because she's not been exposed to the artifact. These are visions from William. But, you know, I'm still baffled by William Mulder's behaviour. But, yes, Scully. Just, Scully. Talk about character annihilation. If season 9 didn't do it to her, if season 10 and what Carter's issues, seriously, what the fuck, dude? Get over yourself. Again, the much bigger issue I will talk about in a separate episode. Focusing on this episode. What is going on? Just, what? There's so much, like, so we have the visions. Fine. I'll buy that. And then, apparently there are no staff around to make sure that she stays. Clearly she's having some kind of, I don't know, psychotic break or something. She's got something wrong with her brain. And yet, nobody at that hospital stops her. I don't care about this, you know, against, you know, medical, you know, kind of, against medical, you know, advice and stuff. I don't care about all that stuff. They let her go. She was visibly not in a good shape. And yet they just let her go. Mind you, like I say, most of the scenes at the hospital, nobody was apparently working there. Could they not employ any extras that day or something? Yeah, so she wanders off. And she gets herself in a car accident. Which Miller and Einstein were conveniently there to help her out of, even though I thought they worked at a different field office, but, you know, whatever. So they're there. They have next to no lines. I'm so glad Robbie Amell and Lauren Ambrose were employed for 5 words each. Hopefully, I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but, you know, I would assume that they'll be in it more. So they help her out. She gets dumped on the bed. Nothing strapped to her or that. No electrodes back on her brain and stuff, monitoring her. She's just dumped there on the bed in her dressing gown. And then this guy comes along that Mulder's been chasing, that Mulder managed to somehow catch up with, even though the guy had a massive lead start on him. How did this guy only just get there and yet Mulder's right behind him? I don't care how fast Mulder was driving in his fancy, whatever year it is, Mustang. How did Mulder manage to catch up and, you know, just save Scully in the nick of time? Because he had whole conversations with these weird people in the meantime. I am way angry about this episode than I thought I was. So, yeah, this guy, you know, tries to suffocate Scully. She is literally, you know, had White Knight's Mulder not saved her, then she would have been a goner. Which, you know, maybe William, maybe give some, you know, pointers on that one next time. You know, you're very capable of showing what's going to happen in the next 3 minutes of the episode, but you can't be bothered to warn your mother that somebody's about to strangle her? Kid, get it straight! So yeah, again, she is the victim that has to be saved. And Mulder, seriously, Mulder murders a guy flat out. There was no need for him to do that. You know, there was all these questions about, I mean, yes, we then get into this murky territory of Scully and Donny Faster and what happened there. But Mulder had every opportunity to take out that guy any other way. He has a gun. He could have cold cocked the guy around the back of the head. But no, he slit his... Also, why are these scalpels randomly left out? The conveniently placed scalpel that Mulder uses to slit the throat. It doesn't even give the guy a warning. Slits, and then it's the way that he pulls him back and actually looks at the guy's throat. Like, look. And actually, it was way gorier than I thought it was going to be. I am surprised with how gory that was. Not that I have an issue, but for Fox, for a show that is normally like PG-13 or something, I was impressed. Just genuinely surprised by how graphic that bloody scene was. But yeah, it's the way Mulder looks at him like, look at my handiwork. And then throws him aside. Just like, and then he's like, oh shit, what did I just do? I've covered Scully in blood. That sucks. And part of me, yeah, was like hoping for a Milagro-style hug. But I'm still frustrated at the way Scully's character was just... And then... Okay, so we get to the big twist that everybody is losing their shit over. That I'm not actually losing my shit over in the same regard, because here's the thing. You know, one, I don't believe CSM for a minute. I think he has much, you know, these you know, grandeur kind of thing. This ideas of grandeur that he has about himself. I think he believes that he, you know, got her pregnant. And, you know, I think he believes that in himself. And regardless if you say, oh, he's lying, he may be lying to dick with everybody else and just be spiteful and stuff like that. And he is evil. I mean, it's so funny because everybody was like, and Simon was like, oh yeah, but he's like the most evil character on the show. Why wouldn't he do the most evil imaginable thing? And it's like, just, I don't believe him. I think he's just making it up. And I think he believes it about himself, that he did this amazing thing by making it possible for her to conceive. But on the other side, because my theory was always that her exposure to the artifact when helping Mulder and that, when she went out to that spaceship in Sixth Extinction 2, Sixth Extinction 2, my thought was always that much like the exposure to the artifact healed Agent Coma in Providence, I always thought that maybe it healed her, and then when she and Mulder got nookie, that, you know, she conceived. But at the same time, there was always the theory, people can't deny this, there was always the theory that maybe CSM had put some alien tech in her, or tampered with her chair paw, or something like that, that had made her start producing over again. So, but let's face it, dude, you know, they couldn't even get pregnant via in vitro. If you think you're just turning around and going, oh yeah, there's a turkey baster, you're pregnant, then it's not guaranteed. So that revelation actually doesn't shock me. What shocks and annoys me about this revelation is it is yet another thing in this 42 minutes of episode where Scully's body has been violated. And the fact that, and what has not helped with this, and again, this is something I'll talk about in my other video, which I don't know if I'll do after this one, or maybe wait until after episode 10. Another thing is, Chris Carter did an AMA, a Reddit AMA, before the release of the first episode, which I think was the stupidest idea anyway, because it's not like he could answer anything about the season, so, but he's very dismissive of the concept. In a Entertainment Weekly interview that was done and released on the day of the episode, he's very dismissive of the term rape. Now, clearly Chris Carter needs to show, somebody needs to show Chris Carter a dictionary and the definition of the word rape, because regardless of whether it was penetrative intercourse or anything like that, her body was raped. I mean, I don't care what, he did something against her will without her knowing, and that's the worst bit, is that she still doesn't know. It's easy to go, ooh, look, dramatic. I'm trying not to get angry, because there is not enough alcohol for this episode, seriously. I'm annoyed by how CSM's words are just handed off like it's like, oh look, drama, isn't it amazing? And you're just like, okay, seriously, there has to be a breaking point. Just no wonder Gillian Anderson doesn't want to come back. Her character has been annihilated. And you know what? I stood by and I've let so much get away on this show for creative purposes and that. But this, it was painful to watch. It wasn't even an interesting episode. And like I say, Chris Carter, dude, you were easily the weakest link of season 10. And I dread to see what's going to happen in this season. I can't wait to watch Darren Morgan's episodes, Glenn Morgan and James Wong's episodes. I'm curious to see what the other writers do. But Chris Carter, please, somebody take him away from his toys. I said this last season. I went back before this episode aired. I went back to watch my reaction video to My Struggle 2. And, you know, I said in that video, he is the weakest link, by far. He is so out of touch. And it is still the case. And, you know what, so much of the time in this episode could be done more interestingly. Like I say, it's not a bad episode. Stuff that happens in it is. But most of it is just boring. With the exposition dumps, the bizarre motives and attitudes of characters at times that feel really out of touch. And just baffling. And just the car scenes that went on way too long. This episode, I'm just baffled by it. Because I feel like like I say, it is a symptom of a much bigger problem, and I think that's where my frustration is at the moment. And I think that's why it's so difficult to talk about. Yeah, that was My Struggle 3. You want me to rate it, don't you? Okay, I gave, what did I give My Struggle 2? I gave My Struggle 2 a 6. Oh my god, I can't give this any higher than that because that would be awful. A 5? I'd have to give it a 5. I feel bad because it's not as good as My Struggle 2. But at the same time, just nothing happens. It's so boring. Yeah, no. I'd have to give it a 5 out of 10. It's just bleh. It's just bleh. And the anger it rages in me is just, yeah, no, I'm going to take my bottle off and cry now. No, yeah, no, just 5. That's all. I think I've rambled so much about this episode. I'm so sorry, guys. Like I say, I will be doing another episode to talk about the big issue, if you will, regarding X-Files and representation of female characters. And just even any kind of other, you know, groups kind of thing. The representation in the X-Files and just how far we've come and how, you know, back in the 90s we let it slip, but now it's really starting to be an issue and it should not be accepted. So much in this episode should not be accepted, and it makes me really sad that Chris Carter wrote this, completely clueless that he is, and that this got through. I mean, I get it, he's the showrunner and all that stuff, but nobody stepped in. Nobody stepped in to edit this to say, you know, Chris, maybe we should, you know, parcel out the Scully torture. You know, maybe not have it all in the same episode. Yes, they've got trailers for other episodes that have got her, you know, I think the next episode shows her being badass and all this stuff. I don't care. This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. And I've seen people stand up for it. I've seen people go, what a twist. And again, it's not the twist itself that I have the issue with, because I don't necessarily believe it, and I think it's been taken in the wrong context kind of thing. And like I say, I think there's more at play than what's been implicated here. But it's just the other stuff I have the issue with. And there are people that are going, well, what? What's wrong with it? And I'm just like, really? But that's something, that's for another video. I've rambled enough in this one. So here we are with season 11, guys. There's just... oh, God. Why am I still here? I'm getting old and cynical, and I think that doesn't help. But yeah, we're at season 11. And we'll see what happens in the next episode, I guess. And I have a worry that the next episode is Chris Carter's one as well. I didn't check the episodes before I came on. I think the next one is his. But actually, no. I think next one's Glenn Morgan's. So we might be okay for the next one. So that'll be fun to see, which is ironic considering the next one is the one where Scully looks like she's being a badass. Because, of course. But yeah, I think the next one's This by Glenn Morgan. So, looking forward to seeing that. And, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'm so sorry for being all over the place. Like I say, things have been rough lately. I'm trying to get back into the mood of this, and having an episode like this that I feel is really rocking the fandom, and just really just, I don't know what it did to me. It just really got me frustrated in ways that I have never really addressed within myself, you know, issues and stuff like that. But anyway, that was the X-Files. That was My Struggle 3. Thank you for watching. Sorry for my ramblings and strange jump cuts. Please take care. Please tune in for more sometime down the line. Bye. Oh, and And just quickly, because I realised I'd forgotten to talk about Jeffrey Spender, who was quite possibly the second to least well utilised character in the whole episode. I have so many questions. What the fuck? I mean, I realise I got canon and fanfiction slightly blurred in my head when I was under the impression that Skinner was the one who handled the adoption. But Spender? Seriously? Like, we saw the family taking in William, and you're telling me that Scully let Spender deal with this? Like, I love the fanfiction idea that either Skinner or even Charlie, you know, the absent brother, was the one who had dealt with William's placement. But I never would have thought it would be Spender. I just can't believe it. Yeah, fine, he was being all, you know, warning of the threat against William, and I don't even know. And that's the other thing. So William has the ability to pass on these visions. So clearly whatever Spender injected him with when he was a baby, either it had a time limit or it did fuck all. So which is it? I mean, William didn't make the mobile move at the end of that episode, so it must have done something, but clearly he still has abilities. So what? He's not part alien anymore. Spender told us that he's not. But clearly he is, because he's able to pass on these visions and have them. So and the biggest question is, how did his face get fixed? Because clearly he's used the same technology that healed his dad. I mean, you know, and I know that stuff is amazing because it healed somebody who had a missile to the face, but really? How did he get access to this technology, not get killed? Because I thought he was being hunted down and stuff anyway, and that, you know, he was avoiding, you know, he was tested on and stuff. Why now does he have access to this technology that has completely restored his face and hair? You know, there are so many questions that I know we won't ever get answered. And I am worried that Spender is not going to be in enough more to even begin to answer any of this stuff. I feel really bad for Chris Owens. I feel so much the budget was blown on the car chase that they just couldn't be bothered with the whole prosthetics. I don't know. There was just so many questions regarding his character. And I realised I didn't touch on him in my review. I use review, my reaction. So I just wanted to bring that up. And there wasn't really any place to interject it. So, yeah. Just what the hell, Jeffrey Spender? Why?